Let's get started. Who we are, I'm Balaji Kandasamy, mostly known as Bala. I'm a Sitecore Technology MVP for 3 times. I'm also a practice director at Computer Enterprises Inc., based out of Pittsburgh here in Pennsylvania. Over to you, Madhu.
Hi, everyone. I'm Madhu Anbargan. I'm a Sitecore consultant working for Tech Systems, 4-time Sitecore MVP. I work as an individual contractor. So if you're looking for anyone to extra help in your Sitecore projects, feel free to let me know. And I've been going through some health issues for the past couple of months. So I'll be really lightweight on this presentation, but I just wanted to give a heads up. Thank you.
Thank you, Madhu. Hope you feel better.
Thank you.
Evaluation of Sitecore Search. I just want to give a quick overview on where this journey started and how this all came together. Initially, in Google Search, Amar used to work in Google, the search team, and he was more focusing on the AdSense, more like a personalized ads that till date we use it in Google Search. So whenever you're doing a search and then you get this specific ads that are relevant. So he was part of that team. He was the brain behind putting that together and working in Google. He came out, he started a company called Reflection, founded in 2012. And then it was backed up with bigger companies, and then it went high. At some point, Sitecore acquired it, and then they rebranded it as Sitecore Discover, which is in 2021. And then eventually Discover, the basic platform. They took some features of the basic platform, put it into a version 2.0 kind of thing, which was launched as Sitecore Search. So these are 2 different products. There is always a confusion between what is Discover and what is Search. We will go through it. I believe there was one more slide, but let me go through it. So the Sitecore Discover is specifically focused towards the commerce, and then the Sitecore Search is targeted only towards the content, like your regular search content. So there are 2 different products. We'll go through it in detail. So what is a Sitecore Search? So in Sitecore Search, there are 3 key things that you need to be aware of. One is your CEC, the Customer Engagement Console. The second one is the Search and Recommendation Services, and then you have the Events API services. CEC is nothing but, in simple terms, this is your cloud panel, like for your SaaS platform, where you're going to log in there. You do the analytics, testing, configuration, everything for the Sitecore Search is done in that platform. And then there is a Search Recommendations service. In this case, the Search API, as for this diagram, which is a REST-based endpoint, which is typically used to do all your search queries. So this is a SaaS platform. All the data is being crawled, the search crawls everything, and the indexes are being built out. And anything that you need to interact, get the search results, doing a search, or everything has to go through the API, REST API endpoints. The Search API endpoint is used for all your search queries. And once you hit the query, and then it gives you back the results, everything is done by search. The second one is the Events service. The Event services is more related to this visitor interaction. So whenever you're doing a search, and if you're clicking on the 3rd result or 4th result, they track that back and say like what the person searched for, what result is being clicked, so that they can use those data to optimize the relevance in the search results. So these are the 2 main endpoints that we'll be using for Sitecore Search. Okay, so I do have the difference here. The Sitecore Discover or Sitecore Search, which would be the appropriate platform. In this case, Sitecore Discover is more like an AI-driven product, which is specifically targeted for commerce applications. That's where all the Sitecore, everything was started, where they were using this, and they have some big brand names which are using Sitecore Discover. One is Rite Aid is one of them. And I believe one other Big Lots is one of their commerce platform, which is fully driven by Sitecore Discover. So they do have few big brand names. Even before Sitecore acquiring, these were the companies they were already using it. So it's a well-known in their commerce space. So the idea behind Sitecore Search is like more like a subset of Discover platform, more like a version 2 of it. They took the good pieces of it, fine-tuned it, made it as a new platform, which is also called as Sitecore Search, which is mainly targeted only for the content. At the moment, it is targeted for public-facing websites or any sites with some basic authentication. Those are the data being pulled. Moving forward. So what are the platform capabilities? So like I talked before, we do have those two endpoints. One is your events API, where you would be triggering whenever a person is doing a search result. Whenever they're doing a search, basically a visitor profile is being created. So you basically get a unique grid that is tagged to you. And basically any searches you do, everything is being created as a visitor profile. There are also content profiles where it is also connected to the content that's being built out. The third one is the tracking analytics, like I talked before with the visitor profiles. Any search that you are making for your particular user, everything is being tracked back. What is the search query? What are the terms that you're looking for? What are the terms being clicked? Which number of results that you're clicking, and according to that, everything is used for relevance. They have generic connectors. When they say generic, it is more going to be a web crawler. So it can be used for Sitecore, WordPress, or any platform. So it is platform agnostic. So it is not targeting something like you need to install this package and it will be only supported on your platform. So in like upcoming demo, I'll be showing you one of my blocks being crawled, which is entirely in a different platform. There is another site we crawl, which is in WordPress. Redemption API also can be crawled. So we have a lot of generic connectors. Multi-index management. This is a very common thing when it comes to search. The whole idea of bringing search is to have one unified index with multiple sources. For example, you might have a site. Your brand might have different sites hosted in different platforms. In my case, I have a clients which they have sites in WordPress. They have web API endpoints. They have a third-party vendor hosted SaaS platform, but they want to curate all the results into one single multi-index, so that in search, when you're doing a search query, you're getting results from all the 4 different sites. So when it comes to your brand, if you have different web presences, you want to build everything, funnel it into one single search interface, then it becomes your multi-index. So Sitecore Search is capable of doing that. So they do have a context and rules engine. So if you are in a particular website and you can set up certain rules, if the domain name is this, then show me this results, and then you can have certain rules on that saying like this needs to be boosted, or this result should be hidden. I don't want to show everything there. So you could do that with the context and rules engine. They do support multilingual and multi-regional support as well. So they do have search hosting. For example, if you're in a GDPR compliant, then you need to have the search hosting available in Europe. So they do support that. They have different regions that you can pick and choose. They also have a A/B multivariant testing. So when you're doing a search, if you're seeing a result, then you can have 2 different set of results or scenarios being shown, and you can pick and choose and make that work. Moving on to the next one. A few features that are really important, and basically if you're using Solar, certain things we don't get, or it's a little bit cumbersome to get those things working, and a lot of customization is needed. So a lot of things, these are available out of the box here. The first one is recommendation. So like I talked before, whenever you're doing a search results, and then there are like certain recommendations it can provide from the results. That is again dependent on what you're searching. I would show you a demo where exactly this recommendations is being used. Second one is suggestions. This is nothing but your query complete or autocomplete. When you start typing, you get a suggestions, a nicer suggestions where it says like, are you looking for this kind of, which we are all spoiled with Google. So we are used to this kind of behaviors where recommendation suggestions are like, we think that's all like basic features of Sitecore, like basic features of a search. So we do have that option of suggestions where you have the autocomplete. Third one is facets and filtering, which is also a common thing when you want to narrow down the specific results. Then you have the facets on the left-hand side with multi-level. Then you can choose and pick and choose that. Like all this, I would be able to show you. It is all available in sitecore.com/search. That is one way you can also check that. Stop words are specific words that in queries that you really don't want to show results or improve your queries that you could use. That is also an additional feature that's available. Moving on to the next one, there are certain things more customizable. You can adjust the relevance. And then you can also adjust the ranking. A common scenario would be, for example, a word is there in your text that you are searching for a query is available in your page title. You want that results to be boosted. And a lot of times I've run into situations where certain items are boosted by the modified date, which we really don't want. For example, every other day there will be some news being published. We don't want that to be prioritized in a search result. Then you want to decrease the boost results for that. For a specific template, you don't want them to be bumped up. So those kind of things you can achieve with the custom ranking. Sorting, sorting by default, you will have like the relevant sorting, modified date, and then you can have some custom sorting as well. So sorting is supported. Personalization, like I talked before, we had the visitor profiles created, so you could suggest specifically for certain users, and with some personas, you can have some personalization enabled as well. Moving on to the advanced features, like I talked before, universal search is a common thing that could be used across multiple sources. So if you have different websites, you can combine them together and have like a universal search on your website. Second word is synonyms. So a lot of times you will have a term that specifically would have results, but the same term has different other synonym. Multiple words could be considered as the same term. So you could have those added in Sitecore Search. In that way, you could use that feature. So if you search by term A or term B, still you could get the same results which could have been searched for term A. Personalized results again display the search results on the user search history. So according to your past history, what you clicked and with the visitor profiles, they could give you some personalized results. They do have some Q&A kind of a thing possible. I've not explored that area, so I've just seen from the theoretical thing. And you have the match highlighting, which is a very common thing whenever you are searching for a particular term. In the search results, the terms are being highlighted. That is also part of the out-of-the-box feature. So we will go through the live demo of creating a simple web crawler and also an advanced web crawler. Also, I'll walk you through the platform capabilities. I'll hand it over to Madhu. You'll be able to talk through the web crawler.
Thank you, Balaji. So this is the sandbox we got from Sitecore. So this is easy to get the sandbox. It's free. You just need to reach out to the partner enablement team and they should give you the credentials. Once they give you the credentials, you can log in, and then this is how the entire thing looks like. So we have lots of options in the left-hand side, and now we are exploring the administration part of it. So where you can see the sources, and once we go in there, we can add our blog, our website, or like anything if we like to index the sources. So let's add a source, and we can call it as PGHSUG. And we can give our description, whatever we like. And the connector here, we need to choose whether we wanted the API crawler, the API, or the web crawler, or the advanced crawler. So let's go for the web crawler as basic. So, and the entity is going to be content. Let's save. Once we add the source, we have a little bit more to do the settings. So as we scroll through here, you can see that the web crawler setting has to do, which means that it's mandatory. The same for the attribute extraction, where you see the dark purple, which means, again, it's mandatory. The scan frequency, you will see that as a light purple and it says optional. So the sources won't work unless you put in the settings and the attribute extraction. So let's explore the web crawler settings. Sorry. The trigger type, we need to give the trigger type as the sitemap. Just hang on 1 second, guys. My daughter is just here. Just a minute. So the trigger type, we can go with the sitemap or sitemap index. So let's go by the sitemap. And we can add the blog URL. This is Bala's blog, and here is the sitemap URL. You can get this URL by going to the robots.txt or from your blog or your website. So it depends upon, yeah, exactly. So on the website, if you go to robots.txt, here's your sitemap. And once you go in there, you can pick whether you wanted to go by the post or pages or like whatever the sitemap, if you like to go for it. So we just put in the sitemap and the max depth, we need to give like how many levels we need to go through. So maybe for now, let's go by 2. And the max URLs, we can just leave it as 1,000 since it's our blog. We can leave it as 1,000. And exclusion patterns, if we wanted to exclude any particular pages, particular things, we can actually add a regular expression or a global pattern to give the expression to exclude some of the pages if you like. But for now, let's not worry about this. And timeout is something default set as 6,000 milliseconds, 60,000 milliseconds, I believe. Yeah, 60,000 milliseconds. So basically what happens is it will try to hit the URL and see if it responds by 60,000 milliseconds. If not, it will skip and go through the next URL. So we can change to increase the levels if you like. And if you like to add some headers, you can add some headers as well. But for the simple one, we'll just go by giving the URL and the max depth, and we can save the settings.
Yeah, one thing just want to add here as well, like from the headers, this is something I've commonly used where you want to mention a custom header, more like a bot. If you want to add a custom header that could be excluded part of your analytics traffic. So that this one is a bit helpful for that. You can have a custom header and a value, and then in your analytics, you can filter down and say anything related to this web crawler could be avoided.
Good point. And the last one is the attribute extraction. So over here, we need to give some attributes like metadata attributes, whatever is related to our, like when we go to the blog, when we go for the view source, we'll have the like meta ID, meta tags, image URLs, whatever you like to crawl. So those properties you can add here. So let's go by adding those properties. And we need to choose the type as like whether it's a meta tag or XPath or fixed. So the easier one is the meta tag. Let's go by the meta tag. And the values, we just need to go to the blog view source and grab those values, and we can save it here. Also, we can give some default values as well if it is missing. So, yep. Here you can see the OG, site name, OG, like these are the tags. So basically you can grab this property name and tag it in the source. So we'll just copy a couple of them, maybe 1 or 2.
Yeah, let's see. Oh, 1 moment, let's see.
Description. Description.
Probably
the OG URL.
Yeah, I think OG URL, OG title. I'll just do that for now.
And let's save it. So for now, like everything we have filled out, the attribute extraction, the web crawler settings, and we can go by the scan frequency as well. Like we can set up the scan frequency if you like, though it's optional, we can set it up as every 6 hours, 12 hours, or every day. So it's up to your project needs that what you like to save, set the frequency. So once we have saved everything, we just need to publish to start crawling. So let's start the publish. And yeah, the job has started. Hopefully in few minutes, it's gonna, sometime soon we'll see the results. Hopefully before our session ends. Cool. Yeah, it says that the job status is queued, so it's gonna come up with, just keeping my fingers crossed that it should success. Let's see. With this, I'll give it to Balaji.
Thank you, Madhu.
Thank you.
The other one we need to talk through is, so we did talk through the web crawler, and the API crawler is something which we could use to directly crawl the API endpoints with some basic authentication. You could crawl, for example, in this case, you could think about crawling Order Cloud instance where you want to crawl their product catalog. Or if you have any other web services, you could crawl the API. The other one is the push API, which is something you could use to push the data back. So this is a common thing that is used by Coveo, for example. If they have a Sitecore package, like the Coveo for Sitecore being installed, they internally use the push API to push the data back into the search, rather you crawling the data. So this is something which is useful when you want to push the data back into the cloud. Web crawler, Madhu was talking through. Web crawler advanced is something I'll quickly go through. Pick one of the existing ones. So if you go here, it comes with a lot of new additional features. I'll try to start one, but I will walk you through with the. So here I'll say web crawler and save. So let's go through the simple process of what are the new things available. Like we talked before, the source general is available. It's similar to the regular crawler. In the advanced web crawler settings, you could see it gives more options here. So you're like allowed domains, what domains you would crawl, max depth, max URLs, the same thing. And also you get an option to choose the number of workers to crawl your site at the same time. So it's the number of threads you can crawl. So it's 5 parallel crawlers that will be crawling your site. So it gives much more control on what you want to crawl. Same goes to, again, the custom headers. And then also it gives you an option for render JavaScript for single page applications where it is dependent on the JavaScript. Not everything is rendered as HTML. So you could turn this on, and then you can say how long you want to wait and maximum time you want to wait. So these are web crawler settings. If you go into the locals, you do have multilingual support. So at the moment, it has only one language. But if you have multiple languages, you could add them here. The tag definitions, again, you can add custom tags here where it is coming from, and then you can have those new tags being added. The third one is triggers. This one is where you would say what would trigger the event. In this case, you have multiple options here. In the regular crawler, you did notice it was a request sitemap or a sitemap index. But in this option, you have a JavaScript-based trigger that you could use. And in the one I'm going to show you, I have 2 options I've used. I will show you the JavaScript. So here you can put the JavaScript code basically, which means you get much more control over it. I will show you the demo on that one, and you can have multiple triggers. In this case, that can be a JavaScript. So as soon as the crawler hits, then it will pass the data, the response data back into your JavaScript, and then you can manipulate it. This will be quite helpful if you're not really looking for the OG tag or a meta attribute, and then you still want to say like, I want this particular div element content to be my description, or you could have much more control. And this jQuery works here, which makes your life much simpler when you're dealing with JavaScript. Moving on to the document extractors. So this is the extractor that we were looking into, where you can mention what type of extractor you want to go with, CSS, or you want to go with an XPath or JavaScript based. We will go through this one. And then moving on to the other one is authentication. So there are apps where you need to give basic authentication. So they have a basic or a browser level. So when you give basic, then you are giving the URL, what method, and then the headers, then it could help you authenticate, or you could go with the browser name, and then you are giving like what is a selector where you want to fill in the username, password, submit, minimum weight. This is all more customizable. So you're not just giving username and password, rather you're saying like, this is the page, this is where you need to give the username and password, log in, and then you can crawl it. Request extractor. Again, you can have this JavaScript based extractor. We will go through this one. And then the last one is the scan frequency. The another important thing here is it allows you to do the incremental updates. This can be turned on. So it is only doing updates incrementally, it's doing updates, not like a full recrawl. So these are the options you have in the advanced crawler. Let me go and take one of the advanced crawler I have. So it's easier that we have already set it up. So in this case, you can see I have set it up for sitemap. This is my company's website being crawled. So the trigger type is set up as sitemap. And then I have all the sitemap URLs possible here. So that way it is crawling all possible URLs. And then if you go into the JS, the document extractor, you can see this is a JavaScript extractor. And then in the content, edit. Here you can see that by default, it comes with an extract method. If I hover, so it gives you the request and then it gives you the response. So in this response, I'm taking the body of that response, and then I'm just using simple jQuery stuff here. In this case, it is reading the meta attribute, and then it is pulling the attribute of content. If that is nothing is there, then it's going to give no type, no title. So some basic stuff here using JavaScript extractor. So looking at this, you would see like how powerful is this. You can customize the way you want. You want to manipulate this stuff or any other conditional things that you could do. You have much more control over it since you're already working with JavaScript and jQuery here. And you can see the frequency, and then I have also enabled this one. Let me go into the other one I want to show. It's a web advanced crawler. So here I'm just doing one to my blog post, and then going into extractor here again. It's a little bit different. It's the same JavaScript here. We are doing that to crawl it. Sure. So the incremental updates is updated. So one other thing I want to showcase here is you can see all these are being marked as published. So everything is already live. And then if you're making any changes, it's going to show as edited with a dot, which says that, hey, it's ready to be published. And there is also, revert to the published. So you can revert, go back in time and see what was the last change, who did the change and things like that. So that's quite helpful when you're doing with a SaaS platform directly in production. A lot of times I've faced with Coveos, like where you are going and making any changes, it's live right away. There is no way that there is a version control that you can control and see who changed what. So this is quite helpful. It shows this has changed, and then I can revert it back if I want. And that point of time, it says like it's already published. There is no changes. Okay, any questions before we walk and show the rest of the platform? So these are the sources, and this is how we create a new source in Sitecore Search. Not much questions, then I can walk through this.
So, sorry, Balaji. Yeah. Oh, go ahead if there's someone else.
No. There is just a comment, so I would like him to read. That's it.
Okay. So you mentioned about push versus pull here. So is there a way like we are notifying the Sitecore search to crawl the site, or is it just a scheduled crawler?
At the moment, it is just a scheduled crawler. I know the works are being done for the push API because if you're doing with Sitecore, at the moment you see the Sitecore search is more going to be like a generic search. It's not specific to Sitecore or anything. When I do a publish, will that get crawled? A lot of questions around that are not applicable. So which we could do with search tags or Coveo, which is very common thing, which we are used to. At the moment, Sitecore search is not targeted for just Sitecore. It's more like a wider platform, more like part of the composable stack. That's the reason. But push API is the one they are targeting to build a package around that that's something we could install on Sitecore and use that benefits.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, Rashmi. Well, I just had one. So what is the, I mean, when do we use the triggers? Is it like for any content updates that you want to kickstart the web crawler, or what is the use case for that?
You mean the triggers in the regular crawler?
No, the one that you configured. I mean, you just showed the advanced crawler, and then there was.
Oh, this one
triggers.
here.
Yeah, that one, yes.
Yeah, triggers are typically targeted for sitemap, and the advanced crawler, the extractors is what, I'm not sure if you're asking this one. The JavaScript based, is this the code you're asking, or?
No, I was asking about the trigger part of it.
Okay, just the trigger part of it. Let's go back. This triggers. Yeah, the triggers, typically we use sitemap, but here also you can use a JavaScript, which could ping and get a response or something. You can have some custom thing available here, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So you can have multiple triggers. So one is your sitemap I'm doing. Request is directly giving a URL. But Java, when you put JavaScript, you can put a Java, what do you call, like a script here, which could hit a URL or have like a custom script that could pull the data and then help you out.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Thanks.
It will be more advanced scenario, Rashmi. Normal scenarios, you would typically go with a request sitemap or a sitemap index. Right. JS is going to be giving much more flexibility to you, as whenever the crawler is kickstarting, it's going to call that method, and then eventually you can have your custom code to pull the data that you're looking for.
And the request one, is that like you're querying an API directly? Is that how it works?
Yeah, this is just like a regular get method put, or you choose whatever, and then you give a regular URL.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. But yeah, these are something that we don't see in other platforms. This is like much more advanced, which gives you much more capability. But with a normal scenario, you would not need this. You could just go with a regular crawler, which typically would be a request sitemap or sitemap index. RSS is something common I've seen, but JavaScript based, you configuring the crawler is much more powerful. Like, what do you want to crawl? Good question. Thank you. Anything else before we move?
Paula, there is a comment from Ishra.
No, this is only for authenticated or search boxes. Only for authenticated. This is only for authenticated users, or can this search box be added to the client's non-authenticated? Yes, the search is typically a non-authenticated, so you can get that added to a non-authenticated website. Okay, moving on. So let's start with the administration part of it. I will just quickly walk through what options they have in the platform considering time. So we have domain settings. Most of the time, these domain settings are all pre-configured by Sitecore. So we typically don't end up touching anything here, but to get an idea, you would do the domain configuration when what instance it is, and if there are any additional domains that it is talking through, everything is available. And again, you can see all this is being published already. I didn't set anything in related to the analytics exclusion list. If your company IP don't want anything to be affecting the search analytics, you can add them here. And then if you have any DNS related other things, you can enable. And then there are a lot of experimental features that Sitecore is currently working on, or there are some beta kind of thing you can turn on or turn off according to what you need here. These are all more like the domain level configuration. And then if you go into the attributes, this is something you can closely consider more like a fields. And if you remember when Madhu was giving a demo on adding those tags and other fields, breadcrumbs, all those things has to be added here. So if you have any custom fields, nothing comes out of the box right away, you can just add and then your field doesn't magically appear. So every single field that we were talking through has to be configured here. So when you go here and click on add attribute, there's a lot of options here. You need to fill this up. And then you can also mention whether these properties are available. Is it required? Should it be returned in the response, API response when you do a search query? So a lot of times you could use them in the API response. A lot of times it's just internally used for your crawling, but not actually going to be available for the end user to see anything. So all this is much more customizable. You can define what you want. And then the different data types here are integer, double, array of integer, float, or float. So these are some things Sitecore, when you are buying Sitecore Search, there is an onboarding process where they will set up your initial sources, help you set up all these attributes. Going forward, if you need something, then you can come here and manually add yourself. And also, if you see on the right here, it talks about all the data types. On the right here, it says which is required in the response. There are certain things are not added in the response. And then certain fields are marked as facets. In this case, content type and tags is a common facet, and which can be used for filtering also is marked here. So if it is not marked here, you cannot use that field as a facet. So all the attribute configuration is being done here. Feature configuration, I can go in depth here, but a lot of things you can mention what is part of your API response. You can add attributes. In this case, part of the API response, you're going to get all these fields defined here. If you want to add a new attribute, you can go and say what attribute you're looking for, and then you can get that added. Again, this is all advanced. Typically, you don't have to go here and do it. And facets, in this case, you can add facets. There are only 2 facets added. Again, you can add it here, and then it also gives you an option to how many number of facets should be there and what are the count details. It's all available here. Filters, the same one. You're using this these properties for to be filtering, basically with a content type or source ID. In a lot of there are default ones. You can see RFK, so underscore are going to be more like your default fields, and the rest of the things will be your custom fields. Personalization, again, you can add personalization. At the moment, I don't have anything added here. Sorting options, again, you can add your sorting algorithm, what you want to do, ascending or descending, or is it going to be an attribute-based sorting? Suggestion blocks, I've not used this swatch or anything, so I don't know that part. Textual relevance is also the relevance related to your text when you do the search. The next one is going to be subdomain setup, where if I have a custom domain that I need to do all those things. At the moment, I have not done the completion, but you can see it's CA America RFK. And then finally, the overall status. And then if you go on the left here, you see a lot more configurations that you do. I would not touch unless if there is a need, but just to keep you aware. It's much more robust. It has a lot of functionalities and features. A lot of things we might not even use. But most of the domain settings I showed walkthrough here is all done by Sitecore most of the time. Part of your onboarding process, they will set it up. And then the manage users, you can have users and different roles and what level of permissions that you could just do here. It's a glitch. And moving on to the developer source here. I'll go with the API Explorer. This is a common thing that would be used. whenever you're dealing with search. I told before we have the search API and the API, the events API. So most of the times you could choose a page here, and then you could set the URLs and then do a request and check the response, and you can build everything right out of here, the API Explorer. And this is what you will be using your end applications on client side, for example, React or Next, and you're going to use the API responses and then show it on the client side. Same thing with the events builder. One good thing here is you would see the start. So you could choose okay, so in this case, when you choose a page, and then you can choose what URL, which widget, also talk through that widget, and then you can see what event is being tracked. You can see this, a click or appear or all those things you can track, and then you can do a request and response to see whether your event tracking is working. And in the context here, you can see the reflection UUID, the one I was talking about. Every user will have a unique user ID allocated, and you can give a particular user ID and see whether it is pumping the data back into. And then you can here also, you can see there are multiple other things that's used. But most of the times by default, any user will be given a UUID. Even monitoring, this is, I don't have it right now, but when you say I get my UUID, you would get that UID, and then you can give here, and then you click on start monitoring. This is something close to the Sitecore personalized. When you put your UID and say start monitoring, and then you start doing a search or click through and everything, you will see those things funneling up here to see whether your event is working as expected. So moving on to the catalog, again, visitors. If you go here, you can search by the visitor ID. And it also supports a GDPR deletion request. So you can go here and add a deletion request, and you can give multiple UIDs. And then you can mention who requested it, what is it related to. So that way it will delete all the user interactions or anything related to that particular user, which is not a common thing in like a search platform. And also you can search for a particular user ID. In this case, I don't have any, so it's not showing them. But you can search a user ID, and then it will show the whole search history or what interactions the user have had. So when you go here, there are global widgets in Sitecore Search. They call it as widgets. So each one of the section or like a component, you call that as widget, and each widget has a unique ID. So when you're dealing with client-side APIs or anything, you could mention what is the widget ID, and then it will have those interactions. So if we go in here, by default, this is a global widget. So you can see this. You go into the edit, that gives you rules. You can add your custom rules here. And also it has multiple variations that you can have. And it's the same thing you would have, and this is at the global level, but at a different, you can have it at a different level as well. I'll show that one. So like talked before, synonyms, you go here. You can add a synonym, and then you can say what is the replacement word. In this case, I say MVP, and then that's a Sitecore MVP. So this is a regular feature here. Notifications, again, anything going at the system level, if there is a job execution or processing or anything, that would show here. And if there is anything going on, you can come and check if something is wrong. And moving on to the analytics, at the moment, I don't have anything going on here, but you can go with top contents by view, by click conversions, biggest gainers. A lot of things are shared between Discover and Sitecore Search. A lot of things you would see are relevant to the commerce platform. Relevant to the commerce platform here. And the main thing I would explore here is the Content Explorer, where you can see what content was searched and how many views, clicks through. See, Chris has a result question here. When you're showing attributes, was there a functionality to boost weight value? With that more important in the results? At the attributes level, no, but I would show in another place where they can play with the ranking to do the boost, Chris.
Well, he has more questions as well.
Okay, I missed that one. Can you force recall or reindex on an individual URL? For example, if you wanted to replace incorrect data with specific. At the moment, I don't see that's available out of the box, but you could hit it through the API endpoint to trigger that specific page that you're looking to reindex. But in general, it is more like an incremental or a full reindex. There is not a specific saying like this particular item needs to be triggered and indexed. No. Maybe I missed it. The domain settings, I assume there is synonym list for including additional search terms. In the domain settings, I assume there is a synonym list of including additional search terms. In the synonyms, yes, you can add there is an option where you can add additional terms. Is there a spell check or powerful fuzzy search? Did you mean suggestions? Yes, there is, and it is by default integrated in the platform. The suggestions is something I was trying to show you earlier. So anybody can explore it now. It is Sitecore Search. When they launched it with their site first. So you can see this is powered by search, and then I can search for JSS. And then this is their autocomplete where they were doing more like a suggested one. Let's do hub. So you can see this one, and then it also recommends this. We do a content hub search, and you can see the recommendations here. And then I did show you the autocomplete. So the suggestions are available here, and then your recommendation goes here. And on the left, you have all the facets available. I could choose, and in this case, you can see there are multiple different sources. Sitecore.com is one, Symposium is different, documentation is different. So there, I would consider these are different sites that are available. And also you get the nice preview with the link. And then you also have this text highlighting that I was talking through. Did that answer any questions here specifically? This is like a full polished version of Sitecore Search being used. And then you can also check in the network tab. Include in the FSHR. Then if I'm doing a click or something, you can see that the tracking is happening here. And you can see the clear UUID I was talking about. Then it passes through what browser, what details, where I came from and everything. And this RFK ID is the widget ID I was talking about. Heading back here, moving into the site. So the widgets that are like, again, you can have customized reports as well. Considering time, I'll just quickly walk through the widgets. These are the widgets I was talking through. You can create custom widgets. Widgets is, for example, the search interface that you are seeing that could be considered like that piece is considered as a widget. And then you can see these widgets can be used on a particular page. So if I take one of the widgets, then it will say the different variations, widget settings, where it will be, this is the RFK ID that I was showing through, and then where it will be used in a page or not. And then you can also do a split testing between two different variations, more like A/B testing. Going back into pages, you can create a simple page and then you can add widgets to it. Here you can see that's a general page name, and then I gave a URL where it will be used, and it's the landing page, and then the widget that is being used is the search. So if they have any different page variations, I would use it here. Going back into the site performance, it did have the analytics section we were seeing, but there was one more thing, the recommendation engagement, search page engagement, and there is one more place where you can see the content gap and other things which are quite useful. So what people are searching for, what results they are not getting, and you can use those content gaps to fix the content and have a better user experience. I think that's about it. Covered pretty much everything what I wanted to show here. I will open up for questions. What are your initial thoughts if you're seeing Sitecore Search for the first time? Please feel free to share your thoughts and I'll be happy to discuss through.
First of all, this is a good presentation, Balaji. I think even for the first timers, it looks that you have a pretty good comparison between those two from my point of view. So I think this is good. From the question perspective, I think it probably is, I'm looking at it from the Coveo lens, to be honest with you, is, the kind of maturity I feel Coveo has in comparison to this product. I'm not comparing it with Google for that matter, right? It's a different story. So would we say that this is like the version 1 and we still want to wait for some bit more time to be a more comparative, like having that comparative thing? Okay, now let's sit and compare Coveo versus Sitecore Search, and then maybe take the next decisions in terms of road mapping your website.
Yeah, personally, if you ask me, I was in the same thing. I'm a big advocate of Coveo Search. Use some search tags as well. I have Pete here. He could cover us there on search tags. But if you compare both of those platforms to Sitecore Search, where do they stand? It is a much more powerful platform. They are not new to this at all. But if you are comparing, or we are spoiled by using search tags and Coveo, which is much more ease of use, pretty straightforward. We are not doing all this lot of custom configurations. Everything is pretty straightforward. If you ask me if I go into Coveo or search tags and do a simple web crawler, I'll just give a URL. I'll be done in 3 minutes. So I'm not going and defining all the attributes, JS extractor, mapping those back, everything, and finally things doesn't work. And then I don't have a place where I could go and see what exactly went wrong and things like that. So maturity aspect, yes, if you have a simple use case scenario or basic stuff, you could still use it. Like, I don't see that you could use the platform. It is good. It's like a one-time initial setup is going to be a little bit tricky, where Sitecore is already there to support it. So they have the onboarding process where they will teach you the entire platform and then help you onboard everything, which is not a common scenario with Coveo. They don't do that. So they set up your sandbox and production, they're done with it. Really, you don't get those service, but in Sitecore Search, they will help you set it up. Even in my case, I have my CA website or the blog. If you ask me, can I just set up a trial account, go do it, do everything by myself? No, absolutely no. Without training, you cannot even touch the platform. But if you do it in Coveo or search tags, yes, you can do it without training. You could just set up a trial account, go, create yourself. It's pretty user-friendly. This is much more powerful, but it needs Sitecore Search admin to help you set it up or make any changes. Okay. Maturity-wise, they have been in business for a long time, so I wouldn't say they're behind, but it would be nice to have certain things more user-friendly. For example, if I'm doing a web crawler, I don't want to go and map every single thing. By default, all the websites has the meta tag, like title, description, URL, image, and basic stuff. You could just give me the template. I don't want to do everything from scratch, is what I would say.
Right, that makes sense. And I'm just going to ask last quick question, Balaji. So from a cost perspective, I don't know if you have any views into how the billing.
The cost perspective, it falls. I could just give you a ballpark. It falls in between search tags and Coveo. It's not it's not as expensive as Coveo, and it's not. It kind of falls in between, I would say.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you for the answers. Yep, appreciate that.
I just have another question in the same aspect. Like, does it have any restrictions as to like number of searches you can do, or is there any number count? Because this is a SaaS platform, obviously it has to be like we have to pay by count. So what is the? Do you have any?
So I get your point, Rashmi. Typically, if you do Coveo, you would go with the queries per month requirement. Yes, Sitecore Search has some limitations, but it is not restricted to the number of items. I know with Coveo, even the number of items are limited. The number of sources are limited. The traffic is limited. One of the, I wouldn't say one of the partners I was talking through in the DX event, they were going with going with Sitecore Search compared to Coveo, the reason he was mentioning is related to the queries per query count was too expensive. And for example, if you have a 2 million hits on search per month on a particular website, Coveo will be way too expensive. So in that case, they chose Sitecore Search and they went with it, which was a good thing to know, right? Because there is limitations on the number of QPS, and Sitecore Search seems to be good on that pricing when you have a huge traffic site.
Okay. Do they have any separate plans for demo? I mean, basically demo, not exactly demo, but basically staging environment as well as versus production?
I believe the default you get one non-prod and prod,
Okay.
similar to Coveo, but yeah, more on the licensing, I wouldn't know much on that. But in general, they give you a sandbox and a production environment by default with your setup.
Sure, makes sense. Thanks.
Yeah, from the pricing aspect and then traffic and other things, I would reach out to the partner contact to get a pricing on a particular thing, because the pricing is a little different. But in ballpark, I could say for your understanding, it stands between search tags and Coveo. And if you have a huge traffic site, search tags and Coveo might be a better option. Sorry, search tags and search might be a better option. Coveo might be much more expensive.
Well, Chris is asking if anyone has created the comparison chart between the search and
No, I don't. But I was too curious. That's the reason I jumped on the Sitecore Search, because I've seen search tags. I'm more of a Coveo advocate. That's the main reason. I don't have the chart now. Thank you, Chris, for asking. Pete, do you want to fill in anything? Thanks for joining us.
I was about to say that.
Hey, yeah. I don't have anything specific. I mean, we definitely, in terms of the chart, we haven't done a comparison chart specifically between Coveo and search, Sitecore Search versus search text. But when we look at the two tools, Sitecore Search and the way that Search Text Studio work are very similar in the sense that they're both going to utilize crawlers. And they're both going to allow you to like choose attributes and index as needed. What we are typically finding is that for use cases where maybe you have more of a product site, e-commerce site, maybe, we definitely think that Sitecore Search might be an alternative there for you. If it's just like website search, or if it's an expansive just website search site, then that's what we tend to think about as from a search tags perspective. From a cost perspective, I think Coveo is going to be more expensive across all the sites, but we're pretty competitive with both Sitecore Search, Coveo, Coveo's out of the league, but also Algolia.
Thank you, Pete.
That's awesome, Pete.
Do you know if it can index Chinese and other languages? Yes, absolutely. I've seen the demo, but I don't have it. But it is multilingual capable. Yes, it can. Okay, I'm expecting the last question from Venu, probably. Any other questions we have? Hopefully the presentation is insightful and useful. I just want to go through the platform and give a real insight of some basics and also get the first-hand experience. Hopefully that helped everyone.
Yeah, this was really insightful, and I mean, thanks for doing this. You do have the background of Coveo, so you do have a perspective. So that was a big value add. Thanks.
Thank you, Rashmi. Don't have any other questions. Thank you very much for taking your time and joining us today in the Sitecore Pittsburgh SUG.